So obviously we're getting closer and closer every day to the start of the season. This video is going to go up a day after the Hall of Fame game, which I'm recording this Thursday morning. This is going to go up Friday morning. So again, it doesn't really, I'm not going to base this too much off of preseason. Obviously, by the time we get to the actual end of the preseason, it's like, okay, maybe some of these players are sticking out. And obviously I'm not seeing that because I'm recording this before before we really kick off preseason. Obviously I'll have my full 32 team power ranking literally days before the start of the actual regular season. That's what that's for. This is just for, let's just try to predict and let's have some fun. So, what I want to do today is, we all know that the NFC is the worst division in, worst conference, I should say, between the two in the NFL. I don't think there's really any argument about it because there's more top tier teams in the AFC than there are in the NFC. And I would argue that there's probably nothing close to the Cardinals in terms of their potential to be bad. Now, obviously, again, the Texans have been down there and they could be bad again. But I think the Texans are better than the Cardinals. I don't think there's really anyone like super close, like maybe close, but not like, they're not like even. So obviously we'll go ahead and put the Cardinals down here. I think it's common for most people to say that the Cardinals are the worst team in football. Just what's happened in the offseason. It's just they're just like, it'll be shocking if they don't get the number one draft pick for next year. So they're starting their rebuild full on. They're full on into it right here. So then the other tiers we have bad teams. We have teams that will go 8-9, 9-8. I could combine these two, I guess, because there's probably going to be at least one or two 9-8 or 8-9 teams in the NFC that are going to make the playoffs, and that's obviously going to be the 6th and 7th seed. I guess I'll leave it there, and I'll only put like two teams in there. Maybe that can be like who I think will make the the 6th and 7th seed. But obviously I have above that the playoff teams, and then I have Super Bowl potential. Which, let's just go ahead and just get it out of the way, because I don't really think we'll put the Cowboys there. I don't really think like anyone here besides the Niners and the Eagles this year are potential to make the Super Bowl. Now, anything is possible because this conference is so bad. Maybe somehow the Niners and the Eagles get knocked off in the divisional round. I don't know. It's possible. It really is possible. I don't see really anyone else making the Super Bowl. I think the closest is the Cowboys, but I mean, they've had good offenses and good defenses the past 3 years, and they haven't done anything. Not to be fair, they did run into the Niners, who actually the year they went to the Super Bowl, did they beat the Cowboys? Was that 2019? I don't remember. But they did run into the Niners, past couple of years, which is a buzzsaw for them. But I can't put them in Super Bowl potential because they've just shown that their playoff potential, but that's their peak. Like, they get to the wild card and, we forget how to play football. So I can't put them in Super Bowl, but I can't. There's no one else. Like, I would put a space here, almost like. In fact, if we could do that, like there's almost just the space between the two top tier teams in the NFC and everyone else. Like, I would be shocked. Obviously, putting aside team biased, I would be shocked if anyone has either of these teams making the Super Bowl from the NFC. I would be totally shocked because it just doesn't feel. Now, again, Cowboys are like close, but I don't trust them. I don't think so. I just think that they're number 3 on the list for NFC, but they're how many times have they said they're going to the Super Bowl, and how many times have they had good rosters and they just don't do anything? So I would totally be shocked if anyone puts anyone else up there besides those two teams. Of course, the Cardinals are going to the Super Bowl. The Cardinals are the only other team. We'll go ahead and we'll go from left to right here. Falcons. I've talked about this, I feel like, for the past 2 years. They're slowly on this upcline, very slowly. Then they during the season they kind of taper off and fall back down again, and then the offseason comes, it's like, okay, they're making some good moves and they're slowly getting better, and then they taper off. So they are still a bad team. I still think that they're a couple players away. Like, they're more than a QB away, or some player on the defense, like a D-line player on the defense. They're a couple players away. But again, to me, they just slowly feel like the past couple of years they've been just slowly getting better. And it's just, if they can get, a little bit better coaching, players can show a little more potential. I think they can be a 9-8, or 8-9, 9-8, which again could be like a playoff team. But they're right now they're not. Carolina, I don't think it's really shocking to say that they're a bad team. You have a rookie coming in. You had I don't want to, you got rid of DJ Moore for essentially Adam Thielen. So not like you're upgrading in wide receiver or anything like that. But they're a team that's just hovering around the bottom of the barrel. And the thing is, though, is they easily could be a playoff team just because they're in the NFC South. So I don't think so. I probably would have the Falcons have a better shot to, win that NFC South title than the Panthers. But you're in arguably the worst division in football. So actually, that should be a video too. I should go over and do. I did that last year. I'm going to do that again. I might record that today and put that up next week, maybe. But you're in arguably the worst division in football. So I guess what's the other argument would be AFC South. But you have 3 teams are bad versus 4. So I guess I would say, yeah, you're probably the worst, because the Jags are a decent team. Jags are a really good team. Not really good, but they're a decent team. They're on the upswing right now too. So 3 versus 4 teams. So yeah, that's the problem with these bottom tier divisions, is someone has to come from that. For years, 4 or 5 years ago, it was like the NFC East. They were called the NFC Least. And then, obviously 2 years ago or whatever it was, they turned around and became the NFC Beast. And just everyone was just shockingly good. And, they did a whole turnaround. So maybe the NFC South can do it again. But right now they're not. So, Chicago. I've talked about this so many times. They are not, right now, before the season start, I have not seen preseason by any players. I'm going to try to see as much preseason of NFL as I can, so I can get a good grasp of all these players coming in. Obviously, the score does not matter to me, the final score. What matters is seeing these players, do their thing in preseason, how they're going to look. But coming into the season, Chicago is overrated by a lot of people. And it's not the Bears fans. It's a lot of people outside Chicago, outside of the Bears fans, that are like, yeah, you know what? This team, it can make the playoffs. This team can go 9-8, be a 7 seed. I don't see it. Yes, you got DJ Moore. I love DJ Moore. I think he's a good wide receiver. Sucks that he's in the NFC North now. But you need an O-line to protect Justin Fields so he's not scrambling around in the backfield or trying to get down the field, which can, cost him years of his football career. It's more likely to get injuries when you're a running QB versus a pocket passer. The defense does not look that good to me. I feel like people see the offense and there's like, oh, DJ Moore, Justin Fields. You have a good running dynamic in the backfield. Not too many good wide receivers, because obviously DJ Moore is a clear number 1. But they don't take too much account of that defense. You're going to be letting up a lot of points. So I don't see the hype. Right now, I don't see the hype. Now, maybe, again, if we get through 3 weeks of preseason, maybe I'll be like, okay, you know what? Maybe their defense has some potential to be there. But I don't see it. I don't see them making the playoffs as like a 7 seed. I don't see them, going 8-9. I think their ceiling is 7 wins, max. 6 or 5 is more likely, because they just had, 3 wins last year? So to get what, like 5 more wins, 6 more wins, it's plausible. And, obviously they don't have the toughest schedule in the world. So that I understand that aspect of it, but I don't see it. You're going to be in a lot of shootouts, a lot of games where it's like, hey, Justin Fields has to be that guy, or you're going to lose this game because your defense is going to allow a touchdown, or they're going to allow him to get in the field goal range to win the game. So I've talked about it at length. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. They're a bad team right now, but they're on the upswing. They are on the upswing. I say 2-3 years down the line, Justin Fields is, he's progressing pretty good, which I have nothing against Justin Fields. I never did. I think he'll be a good player. I think he has potential to be one of the better, draft picks from his class. If not, maybe he could turn out to the best from his class. But I just, the team around him, and, even him, even again, he's got to be able to stay healthy. So it's like, how much are you going to want him to run around and, go running? He can make plays down the field when he's running, but how much are you going to want that? So, Lions, I think, are probably going to win the NFC North. I think they should, they should be a competitive team. I think probably 10 win. For me, I know some people have the Lions winning like 12 games and whatever. For me, I think because the NFC North, the gap between, bad teams and good teams is kind of shrinking because the Lions are on the upswing and the Packers and the Vikings are on the downswing. So I think it's going to be like, hey, maybe 10 wins is what wins this division, because I have everyone in this division splitting. So 1-1, everyone, because it just feels like that competitive gap between all 4 teams is going to shrink. So can they get over 10 wins? Yes, I think they probably will win the division with 10 wins because they don't have the craziest schedule either. And you start out with Kansas City. That's pretty crazy. But people aren't going into week 1 going, yeah, Lions absolutely suck. They're going to go 0-16. They go, what happens if the Lions can beat the Kansas City Chiefs in week 1? What happens then? There's potential for the future. Or what happens if they keep it close? What if they lose by 3 instead of 14 or 21? Then it's like, yeah, this Lions team has potential. They should, again, in my opinion, I'm a Packers fan. If this is your first video for some reason, I'm a Packers fan. I have the Lions win the division. Never had anything against the Lions fans. I don't know why they're up here talking crap when I personally never had a problem with them. And they should be good. I think they should be really good, which is good for them. They have not been good since, well, I guess it's been probably close to a decade. Because when was the last time they made the playoffs? Was that 2014? 2013, 2014 was the last time they made the playoffs. So, yeah, it's been about a decade since they, were a good team. And that was Matthew Stafford and Calvin Johnson. So, Packers here, I've touched upon it on length. I see us maybe getting 7 wins this year. That's putting the bias aside, looking at the schedule and everything. We don't have the toughest schedule, which is good for Jordan Love. He has a bad stretch, or I like a good stretch of bad teams. Is what I was trying to say. I think his first 6 weeks are like teams that did not make the playoffs. So if Jordan Love can do decent there, then it's like, hey, here's some playoff teams later on in the season. Let's see how you can do there. But I think maybe 3-3 in that stretch, maybe 2-4. I like just the way things are right now. The defense has been balling out, but if they're on the field 24/7, that's not going to be good. Like, it's going to show that Jordan Love is bad. So I think the defense, I don't think anyone can argue, or anyone is arguing that defense is going to be terrible this year, because they're, getting healthier. We have Eric Stokes is going to come back later on this season. Rashawn Gary later on this season. We have a very good, draft class defensively. I think, they're looking good defensively. It's just all eyes are on that offense. And if the offense does bad, that means the defense is going to get tired really fast. So that's why it's like, okay, well, this team is probably not going to be that good, because if Jordan Love's not that good, then the whole team is not going to look good at all. I think the defense could be maybe top 15, potential to be a top 15 defense in the league this year, possibly. But I think if Jordan Love is bad, they're going to look like a top 30 team. Top 30 defense, I should say. So it's just mainly relying on Jordan Love. We don't know. We have no idea. No idea at all. So, for now, they're a bad team. That's not bias. That's not me hating on anyone. It's just, it's clear that it's Rodgers to Love. It's a big step down. We just have no idea what the future holds. So, by mid-season, I'll be doing a, right before week 1 a power rankings after we've seen preseason. I will do a mid-season right around week 8, week 9, and then I would be doing an end of the year. So maybe by mid-season, Packers are 4-2, or I guess 4-2 through that first stretch of 6 games, and then maybe they're 4-4 by mid-season or something like that. Then it's like, okay, you know what? Maybe Jordan Love is decent, but we don't know. We don't know. So they're a bad team. Rams, I mean they're they're down there. They sold their soul for a ring, and look what happened. They're sucking. So yeah, there's nothing else to say about that. They're just on the downswing. Vikings, I think, have potential to be one of those teams that sneaks into the playoffs with like an 8-9 record. I don't, they're on the downswing. Decent players all around. Getting rid of Adam Thielen doesn't really change a lot for me because you have Justin Jefferson, who is just that guy. So it's like, hey, like Adam Thielen's getting older. Here's a younger stud wide receiver that's one of the best in the game, if not the best. I think you could argue him. I think there's a possibility you could argue him as the best wide receiver coming into the year here. So I think there's potential they could get like 6 or 7 seed. If if you're the Vikings, you don't want to see the Giants in the playoffs at all. You're praying that you can get an easier path here, whoever. But the problem is that if you're a 6 or 7 seed, you're going to be going up against the Niners or the Eagles. So, one and done? Probably. But yeah, I think 9 and 8. I think is I think that's possible for them. 8 and 9, I think, is more likely for them. It's just, again, we'll see how they do. Did getting rid of Dalvin Cook, does that change anything for the running game? We don't know. Defense has not been spectacular. They've had some showings, but we'll see. We'll see how they do. I think that they can possibly make the playoffs as, again, a 6 or 7 seed. But yeah, I think they'll hover right around 500. The Saints here, I'm just gonna go ahead and put the Saints, and that is not the Bucks. Gonna go ahead and put the Saints and the Bucks in here. Same argument for the Falcons and the Panthers. I think the Saints and Bucks have the best chance to win that division. It's just such a terrible division that it's like, okay, whoever comes out of it is going to probably 99% chance play the Cowboys, because it's 4-5. So if the Eagles win the division, Cowboys get the 5th seed because they're going to have 11, 12, maybe 13 wins, but I think 11 or 12 is more likely. So then the Cowboys are going to be playing the winner of the AFC South, and they're going to be able to just go, we got to the divisional round again. We them boys. We beat up on the worst team in the freaking playoffs. Woohoo! So, the Cowboys are going to talk a lot of crap because they're going to get either the Saints or the Bucks, or unlikely would be the Falcons, and very unlikely would be the Panthers. But yeah, I think probably the Saints are a better matchup for the Cowboys, maybe. That's a really interesting. Who would be a better matchup for the Cowboys? Oh, God, see, again, this the problem is we don't know how the Bucks and the Saints are going to look at the end of the season. We expect the whole division to be bad, but what if the Saints and the Bucks have a decent season and they maybe get 9 wins? Then it's like, okay, well, maybe they have a shot. But I think whoever wins that division just is going to get bounced in the wild card. It doesn't seem plausible that they can win a game, at least get past the wild card. It just doesn't seem like it, especially because, again, it's either going to be the Cowboys or the Eagles in the 5th spot. Like, it's going to be. You have to have the 4 division winners, and then you have the Cowboys and the Eagles, who are 2 of the best teams in the NFC. You're playing one of them in the wild card. Whoever that 4 seed is going to be playing, because they're almost locking that in that they are going to get the 5th seed. That's how confident I am in one of those 2 teams. or both of those teams, is you're going to have a fight to win that division, and you're going to have so many wins. It's like, okay, well, 6th seed is nowhere near that. So Cowboys just get whoever they want. Who do they want more in the from the NFC South? So, but yeah, it's just that division. It sucks. Heading over to the, we'll go ahead and finish off the. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna put 3 teams here. Do I want to move the Giants up? Yeah, I feel like I'm more inclined to move Seattle up, to be honest. I feel. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. So anyway, we'll talk about the NFC East teams here, and then we'll talk about Seattle last. So Giants first. You're in probably the hardest division. Because, I mean, the Giants can be good. I mean, they have a whole thing with Saquon right now. We'll see if he sits out and what that is going to do for their running game. But Giants they're an upswinging team too right now. So I think they can be 9-8, get that 6th seed behind the Cowboys. And just, they're playing whoever wins the. Oh, I guess I need to have whatever. I should have put a win, because obviously we have the East and the South, and I guess we have the North. We'll just say the Saints win it. We'll just do that. Well, because we have to have one of them in there. We'll say that. So we'll do the. No, I didn't want that. We'll do that. And then I think the Eagles probably get the 1 seed again too. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll have those 4 be the playoff division representation. So anyway, I think that the Giants have a possibility to get the 6th seed. I think there was a 6th seed last year, right? Yeah, because they played the Vikings, yes, who were the 3rd seed. Yes. Yeah, because the Eagles had a bye. Yes, because it's only one. It's only one bye. I think that they can, be decent again this year. Again, it's the running game is what's going to be really interesting. They went out. They did a lot during free agency. Did a lot during the draft. So we'll see how the whole team looks. We'll see if Daniel Jones can take a step up in production again, just like he did last year. It's going to be very interesting. Very interesting, to say the least. We will see what happens. But I think that there's possibility that they, go 9-8. I think 9-8 is more likely than 8-9, and that they make the playoffs. Washington, they're stuck in the worst division. They're obviously the worst team of the 4 in the NFC East, but they got their Super Bowl here just a couple weeks ago or a week ago or whatever it was, with Dan Snyder being fired and new ownership coming in. So they're celebrating. They're going to be drunk for 12 months here. They're just thinking about, hey, what is the future of this team going to look like? Who cares about right now? We got our owner out of here for good. And literally anyone is a step up to Dan Snyder in their opinion. So they're going to be a bad team just because they're going to be in, again, the hardest division. So they might get 7 wins. But it's like, hey, they're not making the playoffs because 2 teams from the NFC East are going to make the playoffs, and then the Vikings or maybe Tampa. Well, you're going to have Seattle fighting for that spot too. So, you're going to be struggling to make the playoffs with 7 wins. Maybe they can get 8 wins, but I only see 3 representations again from the NFC East. I don't see all 4 happening. It'd be interesting. I don't know if it's ever happened. That's something I'm going to look up after I record this. I don't know if we've ever had 4 teams from a division make the playoffs in either AFC or the NFC. But yeah, so I think that, they're just drawing the short end of the stick, and they're not going to make the playoffs. They're going to be a bad team because they are technically not that good of a team. But they have some players on that team with some good potential for the future. It's just what's going to happen when this ownership fully takes over and they have a full off season under their belt next year. Then we'll just talk about Seattle here real quick. I think Geno's taking a step up this year. Probably not a top 10 quarterback. I think he's going to hover around top 15. Seattle just is a team that actually on paper looks decent, and they look like they, about the same as they were last year. No one had them really even close to making the playoffs. I don't even think Seattle fans had them making the playoffs last year. And they shocked the world. and they won that Denver Bronco trade in year one of it. We'll see how it goes this year for them. If they make the playoffs again without Russ, I think it's safe to say they won it. I think it is safe to say they won that trade. 2 years in a row, they make the playoffs without Russ, and they have Gino, who was the backup to Russ, come in, becomes a starter, becomes very good, and gets them to the playoffs twice. Yeah, I think you just can't really argue the Broncos. Even if the Broncos make it to the wild card this year, it's like, yeah, but look at what year one was. Look at how he was supposed to act in year one and how atrocious that was. So, yeah, I think Seattle has the potential to make the playoffs again. You're fighting with the Niners, but you're probably not going to beat the Niners for, a playoff spot. So you're just going to be fighting for probably a 6th or a 7th seed. I don't see them getting like 12 wins or anything like that. So I think 6 or 7 seed is pretty good to fight for. You're going to probably be fighting with the Vikings and with the Giants for that bottom spot there. So again, 2-3 teams, which I think will just hover around 8, 9, 9, and 8. It's just, hey, who can get in? Who can get into that? So let me know your thoughts on the NFC side. I think next week I will do one for the AFC side. I'm going to try to not focus too much on, because by then we'll have preseason games already. I don't know. I think we have like a week and a half till after the Hall of Fame game, because I don't think there's games this coming weekend, because it's only 3 weeks, right? I believe it's only 3 weeks. So I think we have the Hall of Fame game, then we have a week and a half till whatever the Sunday is, and then we have our Saturday, Sunday, and then we have those games. Yeah. So for now, again, let me know your thoughts on this. Like the video, share the video around, don't subscribe. Is there any team that you could see from the NFC make it to the Super Bowl besides my top 2 here? I'd be interested to, hear what people have to say. Obviously, I know everyone wants to say the Cardinals, so yeah, we'll go ahead and mention the Cardinals once again. But for real, if you think any team, get the Cowboys biased out of here. Any team from the NFC besides the Niners or the Eagles can make the Super Bowl, let me know down below. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. Peace.